Hello everybody and welcome to another one of our March of the Machine unboxings, and we've just wrapped up March of the Machine Aftermath, all of the unboxings anyway, and now we'll be diving into the remainder of the decks that have been left over. At the moment we still have 4 more decks to analyze, so today Scotty and I are here to unbox the commander deck for Cavalry Charge, whose commander is Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir. So thank you very much, Scotty, for that intro. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. We are here in not so sunny Edinburgh and hoping to see another really cool deck. Our previous deck, which was Growing Threat with Brimas, was actually one of my favorites. And we tried something new. We tried to give you an idea of how to upgrade the deck proper. And we'll be doing the same with this one as well. The first part of this is going to be an analysis of the deck, of the cards that come in the Precon, what we expect to be a good card, what we think might be a cut or an average card, and then there's going to be another second part where we analyze the deck's potential upgrades and things that you could add to make it amazing, depending on what you have in your collection. Anyway, without further ado, this is Cavalry Charge. So let's have a look at what this deck contains. As usual, the decks all contain similar things for the expansion. Now, this deck, just like the other one, has Planechase cards, 10 of them, out of which 5 will be new and 5 will be old. And of course, the deck contains 100 cards. 99 of them are the commander deck proper, and then you have the display commander and the commander itself. And you actually get a life wheel, a deck box, a strategy insert, the reference card, the 10 double-sided tokens, and a planar die to go in with the Planechase. That's it. You also have a sample, collector's booster sample pack, that we're gonna open right away, and that's it. As usual, we're taking a look, and this has been printed in Belgium, and that's it. Let's go. Let's start with the unboxing. I will go from the bottom because last time it seemed really hard to open the thing from the top. Yep, it is easier to open from the bottom, that's for sure. Okay, so what you find inside, as such, these are going to be the planar cards with a collector's booster sample. As you can see here, the collector booster sample is actually printed, if I'm not mistaken, in Belgium. Yep, it is. I hope they start printing more and more collector stuff for European countries and overall for where we live in UK, in Belgium, because stuff is straighter. And yeah, you get the 10 Planechase cards. As I said, 5 of them are going to be new cards and 5 are going to be old cards. You get the deck box protection, which unfortunately does not hold the cards with any sleeves on. So if you're looking to keep these, you will definitely not be playing with sleeves, and it's a shame because some of these decks are really nice, but then again, WotC has a deal with Ultra Pro and they make the fancy decks with all the iconography and art. Then you get a couple of tokens, and onto the side, you can see here is going to be the planar die. This one is a black and red one for this deck, and that's it. The planar die has only 2 colored faces, one for plane chasing and one for chaos ensues, and the rest are duds. And you get the life wheel from 40 life points. You get the deck proper, the tokens, and display commander, and a little bit of an intro. So let's have a look at the intro first, really quickly. I find these pretty cool. They give you an idea what the deck is about and a little bit of fluff and lore sometimes, so that's pretty nice. Let's see here. Now, as usual, I will just let you pause if you want to read what it says here. As you see, a little bit of an intro on the character, the commander, and then how you play the deck. And on the back, you get the special rules and intro to commander in general, and also to Planechase. So this is very nice. And oh god, it smells really good, just like any plasticky paper smells like. It's really nice. And then let's move on and move this aside. Let's start with the Collector's Booster Sample Pack. Now, there are going to be 3 cards. One is going to be a token, and 2 are going to be actual cards. One of them is going to be a Showcase Uncommon, and the other one is going to be a alternate border art card that can be of any rarity, rare, mythic, etc., etc. So that's it. Let's open this up. And there we go. First the token. And then we get Stram, the Senior Artificer, in the Showcase version. Very, very nice. We've not seen this card in the Showcase version yet. And yeah, it's a Multiverse Legends. And then we get another Multiverse Legend and the Showcase Foil, Uncommon, Vende, Pride of Femeref. So those are the 2 cards. There we go. And we move them aside. Move the token aside. Now we'll be quickly looking at the Planechase cards for those who are interested in playing Planechase. It's back, and have not yet played Planechase, and I've never actually played it before, so I'm quite interested to see how this will play out. It reminds me, these cards kind of remind me of Vanguard cards that were given out with arena events back in the 1990s, or yeah, I think it was 1996, 1997. Anyway. All right, the first card is a phenomenon named Mutual Epiphany. And when you encounter Mutual Epiphany, each player draws 4 cards. Then we get Orochi Colony, which is a plane in Kamigawa. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. That's really nice. And then whenever chaos ensues, target creature cannot be blocked this turn. Turi Island, the plane for air. Creature spells cost 2 generic less to cast. Whenever chaos ensues, you reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. That's not bad. Put all creature cards. That's not bad at all. Oh, this is nice. You get to see Sokenzan from Kamigawa. I probably butchered the name. All creatures get +1/+1 and have haste. This is very nice. And when chaos ensues on top of all creatures that attacked his turn, if it's a main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. This is really cool. Oh, a Trigger Jungle from the plane of Argamon. All lands have tap to add 1 mana of any color. And whenever chaos ensues, you reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all 9 cards revealed this way into your hand, the rest of the bottom of the library in any order. Really nice. Lijar from the plane of Kaldheim. When you planeswalk to Lijara, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature with changeling, which means it's every creature type. Whenever chaos ensues, choose a creature type. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control of that type. All right, next up, Paliano from the plane of Fiora. When 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, if there's no monarch, you become the monarch. Whenever chaos ensues, create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with that touch and haste. Innis Hin, playing from Crid, I think. When you planeswalk to Innis Hin, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you reveal 3 cards. And when you planeswalk away from Innis Hin, each player returns all land cards from the graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. And whenever chaos ensues, return target non-land card from the graveyard to your hand. Oh, next up we have the Kaldaya from the plane of Capenna. Creature spells you cast from your hand have Blitz 3 generic. If you cast a spell for its Blitz cost, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card, sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. And then whenever chaos ensues, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And then last is Unyaro from the plane of Zhalfir. At the beginning of your end step, if you planeswalk to Unyaro this turn, untap all creatures. It is out until a player planeswalks. Whenever chaos ensues, create 2/2 white and blue knight creature tokens with vigilance. All right, so those are the planes, and they are very beautiful cards. I really love the fluff and the art behind them. Next up, we have the display commander and tokens. So let's have a look at that, and I'll read out the commander proper this time. Okie doke. All right, that was really flimsy plastic as usual. All right, Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir is a legendary creature that costs 1 generic, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black. Is a 4/3 human knight with Eminence. Oh, Eminence makes a return since 2017. Whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, if Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir is in the command zone or the battlefield, you draw a card and then discard a card. That is nice. It allows you to always loot. You're going to get through this deck really, really quickly. And Eminence is an OP keyword because it works whether it is in play or in the command zone. So that's one of the cool things about Eminence. Then you have Flying and First Strike, and when Sidar Jabari deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Wow. Okay, so this is a Knights deck, and this is a really, really good commander for the Knights deck. And of course, you get some Knights tokens. Oh, Vampire Knights as well. Really beautiful tokens, I want to say. Some Blood tokens, some Zombie Knights, some normal Knight tokens, the Monarch. All right, so in case you didn't know what the Monarch does, is at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, its controller becomes the Monarch. So that's it. And then we flip this around, and you get Shapeshifter tokens, Assassin tokens, Human tokens, yet another Shapeshifter token, Soldier, and Spirit tokens. So that's that for this. And now let's have a look at the deck proper. We will start from the bottom and then we'll make our way up. Okay, doke. So we've had a look at Sidar Jabari already. The second commander or general of the army is Alenda and Azor, so it's a team up. This is a Vampire Knight Sphinx team up, so that's wow. Vampire Knight and a Sphinx together. It's a 6/6 legendary creature for 3 generic, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black. It has flying and ward 2. So that's good. And whenever Elandra and Azor attacks, you may pay an X generic, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black. If you do, you draw X cards. That's a little expensive if you ask me. And at the beginning of each end step, you may pay 4 life. If you do, you create a number of 1/1 black Vampire Knight creature tokens with lifelink equal to the number of cards you draw on this turn. Okay, so now I see what they're trying to do is just token generation. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about this card. It's quite expensive for what it's trying to do. And you're already drawing cards with this. It might be okay because it allows us to create more knights. And it has flying and ward, and it's a knight itself. So yeah, it's if there's no better, it's a definite maybe. I mean, it's definitely a good card. It's just fairly expensive for what it does. But anyway, let's see here. Let's see, and then we get the how to play token as usual. And we flip it around and we start off with the new cards, the 10 new cards. First up, it's a Sanguinator Cavalry. It's a 2/3 Vampire Knight for 2 generic and 1 black with Menace and Lifelink. And whenever a knight you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and create a Blood token. All right, and the Blood token, we've seen it before. So this is really, really good. It always creates more nice tokens. That's very nice. All right, Icor Elixir. Yeah, we've seen this before. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the Brimmas deck as well. So this is a planar die interaction, and it's a 4 generic artifact. And that if you would roll 1 or more planar die, instead roll that many planar die +1 and ignore 1. Tap to add 2 generic mana. It's not a great mana generator that are better in this game, but if you're playing Planechase, this might be a cool thing to keep. Okay, then we get Herald of Hoofbeats. It's a 3/3 human knight for 3 generic and 1 blue. Has horsemanship. Oh, wow. I haven't seen horsemanship since Portal 3 Kingdoms. That's nice. Basically, horsemanship, it says that this creature cannot be blocked except by creatures with horsemanship. Another knights you control have horsemanship. Wow. This is really good. This is a really good card. Yes. Next up, we have Locthwain Lancer, which is a 5/5 human knight for 4 generic, 1 black. It has menace, and whenever a non-token knight you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you draw a card. Okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna be fairly open-minded for the cards here at the beginning because I'm still trying to get a gist of the deck. But my opinion would be that you don't want to go too much in the top end of the mana costs, because knights tend to be less expensive overall. And so for something like this, it's a good card, right? So, you know, it's not a bad card. It's a knight, it's a 5/5, it has menace, but there are better cards that are black that do the same exact thing for one black, for example, or two, depending, or even three, depending on which ones you're playing. So it's a good card if you're just wanting to stay with knights and get that same effect, because you get twice, you know, it's a 2-for-1. But at the same time, I would have to get through the deck to figure out what the curve is like. Anyway, decent card. Let's move on. Chivalric Alliance. This is a 1 generic and 1 white enchantment. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, you draw a card. Okay, so this plays in with Alanda and Azor. And then for 2 generic and discard a card, you create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. This is very good. Absolutely good. Next up, we have Path of the Enigma, which is a sorcery, and it costs 4 generic and 1 blue. Target player draws 4 cards, and then a Will of the Planeswalkers. Starting with you, each player votes for Planeswalk or Chaos. If Planeswalk gets more votes, Planeswalk. If Chaos gets more votes, or the vote is tied, Chaos ensues. So this is another one of those cards that I would definitely remove because you have a lot of draw engines already that I've seen that I would definitely remove if you're not playing Planechase. And it doesn't have a lot of synergy with this deck. Next up, we have Odalian Wave Knight, and this is a 3/3 Merfolk Knight for 2 generic, 1 white, and 1 blue. And whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on each Merfolk or Knight you control. This is a great card. This is a great card. Again, I see a theme here. The more you draw, the more stuff you get to do. So it's a 2-for-1. I mean, drawing in Magic the Gathering is one of the best things you can do, not for nothing. The Ancestral Recall is one of the power 9. So being able to draw and, you know, cantrip all the time and do extra stuff is amazing. So this is a great card. It gives +1/+1 counters every time you do that. That's awesome. Next up, we have the Conjurer's Mantle, which is an artifact equipment for 1 generic and 1 white. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has vigilance. Okay, not that great. Whenever equipped creature attacks, and look at the top 6 cards of your library, you may reveal a card that shares a creature type with that creature from among them and put it into your hand. And put the rest at the bottom of your library in random order. You equip it for 1 generic. It's okay. It's not great. It's okay. It's one of those cards that if you have no better effects to give, you know, more of your creature +1/+1s and vigilance at the same time, then yeah, definitely at least you can buff one creature. But it just seems kind of a bit slow because yeah, it's great that you attack. You can actually, I'm thinking now, well, we'll get to it later, but I'm thinking that, yeah, there's a combo that you can do with... Okay, so I stepped away for a second. So there's this card called Reconnaissance, and it's a very good card. This is an enchantment. I'll read it off for you. Reconnaissance for 1 white. It's an enchantment. Pay 0, and you remove target attacking creature from combat, and you untap it. So this is really nice. Something like this can definitely allow you to do the trigger without accidentally losing the creature, and that's not bad. So there are quite a few creatures here, including our commander, that deals with, you know, whenever you attack, something happens. And this allows you to save the creatures that you want from combat and still get the trigger. So this is definitely going to be an addition. Anyway, that's a little segue that I was just looking at and having a thought. Anyway, Conjurer's Mantle, as we said, is an artifact. Aethersworn Adjudicator, okay. So this is a 4/4 Vedalken Knight for 4 generic and 1 blue. So it's not cheap. It has flying, and then for 1 generic, 1 white, and 1 black, you destroy target creature or enchantment by tapping it, or for 2 generic and 1 blue, untap, Aethersworn. Not bad, but it's kind of slow. It is good to be able to destroy a creature enchantment, but I think it's kind of slow for the deck. Anyway, the way that I would build this deck anyway. It's not a bad creature. I will give him that. Next up, we have Hero of Bladehold, which is a human knight, and it's a 3/4 creature for 2 generic and 2 white. It has battle cry, so whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 till the end of turn. And then whenever this creature attacks, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. So again, Reconnaissance is going to be making a lot of waves in this kind of deck. This is not a bad card. You create more tokens whenever you attack with this card. And their attack, they're already attacking and tapped. So that's really nice. And it buffs up other attacking creatures. This is a very good card. Oh, next up. From the Ixalan block, you have Vona, Butcher of Magan. It's a 4/4 vampire knight for 3 generic, 1 white, 1 black. It has vigilance, it has lifelink. And then you tap, pay 7 life, destroy target non-land permanent, activate only during your turn. This actually might be a better destruction than the Adjudicator, even though it's a bit expensive to pay 7 life. If you have some way to lifelink your creatures, which I would reckon there is, this could be really good because it destroys target non-land permanent and not just a creature. So yeah, if I had a choice between Aetherstone Adjudicator and Vona, I would keep Vona. All right, a clean contender from Throne of Eldraine is a 3/3 human knight for 2 generic, 1 white. It's a creature. When a clean contender enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, you look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a knight, aura, equipment, or legendary artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in any random order. So this is another way of doing what Conjurer's Mantle does, only better, I believe, because it's a 3/3 knight that you can bring back with Sidar Jabari. And I think this has a bit more impact than the mantle itself personally anyway. Okay, then we get Andalyn, Resplendent Cathar, which is a star 4 legendary creature, human knight for 1 generic and 2 white. And this is a renowned creature. It has vigilance, and its power is equal to the number of creatures you control. So the more tokens you generate, the more this is going to be more powerful. And whenever you attack for each opponent, you create a 1/1 human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. So it has Myriad. And this is a great knight. Definitely would keep inside. Next up, we have Ariel, Knight of Windgrace, which is a 4/4 human knight for 2 generic, 1 white, and 1 black. It has vigilance, 2 generic, and 1 white, and then tap it. You create a 2/2 knight creature token with vigilance, and then 1 black, tap it. Tap X and tap knights you control. Destroy target creature with power X or less. Actually, this is not a bad card because you get to create more vigilance tokens and you get to destroy a creature based on the knights. So that's not bad, actually. It's not a bad removal, that's for sure. Okay, next you get Choked Estuary, which is a land. And enters the battlefield, you may reveal an island or swamp card in your hand. So it's one of those reveal lands. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. Okay, Exotic Order, this is a classic. And now we have Fell the Mighty. It's a 4 generic and 1 white sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. This might actually be good because from what I can see, a lot of the base power of the knights are, well, not as strong. The idea of knights behind it is not going to be a big dumb green creature. It's going to be small things that do a lot of stuff, so this might be really good. Hakon, Stromgald Scourge is a 3/3 zombie knight for 1 generic and 2 black. You can cast him from your graveyard, but not from anywhere else. And as long as Hakon is on the battlefield, you may cast night spells from your graveyard, and when he dies, you lose 2 life. Not bad. There's a way to sack this, either by discarding a card or something like that. It really enables your deck to basically sync up with Sidar and yeah, just go to town. Otherwise, if you don't have an effect like this, you are going to be struggling. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have Josu Vest, the Lich Knight, which is a 4/5 legendary zombie knight for 2 generic and 2 black. It has a kicker of 5 generic and 1 black. Wow, that's expensive. It has Menace, and when he enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you create 8 2/2 black zombie knight creature tokens with Menace. I mean, you're gonna be spending 10 to create board power that's meh. Definitely there are better ways to generate tokens, so I don't know. I think this is way too expensive for what it's trying to do. I would not keep that. Okay, next up we have the Knight Exemplar, which is a human knight for 1 generic and 2 white. It's a 2/2 human knight. First striker, other knight creatures you control get +1/+1 and have indestructible. Wow, this is extremely good. Amazing. And then you have Knight of the White Orchid, which is a 2/2 human knight for 2 whites. It has first strike, and when Knight of the White Orchid enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you must search your library for a plains card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. 2/2 first striker for 2, even though it's 2 white, is okay, especially in this kind of deck. I would reckon it's not a bad land fixer. If you're I would keep this if you're not having full slots for creatures filled up by replacing better knights. Also because it allows you to get a plains card, and it can be any plains card, so it can be one of the dual lands or the triumph, so it's not a bad card. It's a good fetcher and has first strike. I would keep it personally. Next up, you have an enchantment. It's called Knight's Charge. It is 1 generic, 1 white, 1 black. And whenever a knight you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay. And for 6 generic, 1 white, 1 black, you sacrifice this card to return all knight creatures cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is amazing. This is really good. It's expensive to return, but at the same time, you're returning every knight. Every single one. That's amazing. So yeah, in a commander game, this can be easily achieved. It gives you a good trigger, and yeah, I think this is for every knight, so because it's whenever a knight you control attacks. So yeah, I think this is really strong. Next up, we have Liliana's Standard Bearer, who is a zombie knight, of course. 3/1 creature for 2 generic and 1 black. It has flash, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. Not bad. It's an interesting draw generation for a deck that wants to also do knights. It does trade down somewhat. You don't need to cast it though, so it enters the battlefield. I'm always for the fact that yes, it's good to have 2/1s and 3/1s, but there are definite good effects in this color combination, which is Esper, for card draw advantage, and already there are some great knights with card draw advantage. I don't know that this is something that's insanely good, but it's okay. It's okay. Of course, next up you get the Maul of the Skycleaves. Is a 2 generic and 1 white artifact equipment, and when it enters the battlefield, you attach it to a creature you control. The creature gets +2/+2, has flying and first strike, and you can equip it then for 2 generic and 1 2 white. This is a great equipment, and this is something that I was thinking, knights, their swords, their equipment, just the same theme with the fluff. I think this is nice to get some really cool equipments attached. Maybe some swords. You never know. All right, next up we have the Midnight Reaper, which is a 3/2 zombie knight for the Ravnica block. It's a 2 generic and 1 black. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. So more card drawing and advantage. So that's a good one. Murderous Rider. Okay. So this is from the Throne of Eldraine, a zombie knight, 2/3 for 1 generic and 2 blacks. You can either adventure it into Swift End, which destroys target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life for 1 generic and 2 black. Or you can lifelink it. Or you can play it normally as a knight that has lifelink, and whenever it dies, you put it on the bottom of its owner's library. It's a bit annoying that whenever it dies, it has to go at the bottom of the library because of Sidar's effect, but it's a good way to get a 2/1, and it's a decent knight. I'll definitely keep it. Okay, Painful Truths. This is a sorcery that we've seen before for 2 generic, 1 black. It allows you to draw X cards, you lose X life, where X is the number of colors or mana spent to cast a spell, so realistically you can draw 3 cards maximum and lose 3 life. Not a bad card, actually. It's a good draw, and I would definitely use it. Next up, you get Port Town, which is another reveal land for the blue and white part. And then you get the Prairie Stream, which is the slow land. And Then you get the Promise of Loyalty, which is a sorcery for 4 generic and 1 white. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. Each of those creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control for as long as it has a vow counter on it. That's really good. This is an interesting removal. It's very, very interesting because with the fact that you can return a lot of knights back with Sidar, and we've seen another couple of knights to do that, this allows you to board wipe, get back your side slowly, of course, or quickly enough, and then you can, let's say if it's their commander or somebody like that, they won't be able to attack you anymore. So that's really, really good. At the same time, it's not a full board wipe, but it's really, really nice. All right, next up we get Pull from Tomorrow. This is the next generic and 2 blue instant draw X cards, then discard a card. Not bad. This is a good draw engine. Shine Shadow Snarl. We've seen it before. Sigil Sword of Valoran. Okay, so we do get a sword. It's not the swords that I was referring to, but it's an artifact equipment for 3 generic. And equipped creature gets +2/+0, has vigilance, and is a knight in addition to. And so the types. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you create a 2/2/1 a white knight. Creature token with vigilance that's attacking you. So you play 6, because to equip it, it costs 3 generic as well. To be able to, there are better equipments. Just look at that one. It's not bad. If you don't have greater or better equipment, definitely use it. But I would cut it short as soon as I could, because it is very expensive for doing something that other cards and other knights could be doing better. And that way it gives you a lot more value for it. Next up, we have the Silverwing Squadron, which is a star flying vigilance human knight for 5 generic and 1 white. And its power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. So that's really, really good. Because of the amount of token generation that you can do with this deck. And whenever Silverwing Squadron attacks, you create a number of 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you have. So that's even better. It continuously creates and generates tokens for you. Wow, that's nice. I would definitely play that. Okay, next up we have the Sunken Hollow and the Temple of Deceit. Temple of Alignment, Temple of Silence. All right, we get Time Wipe. Okay, from War of the Spark, which is a 2 generic, 2 white, and 1 blue. Return that creature you control to its owner's hands, then destroy all creatures. Not bad. Yeah, so as I was saying, from what I can see, I'll say it just now, it seems like most of the Precon decks, the sorcery and instants, they're not bad. Definitely not bad. They're much better than most Precon decks that I've seen. But you'll want to swap in better effects, especially for Esper, if you have those cards. But it does give you ways to deal with stuff. So this is another board wipe, and it's definitely a great card. If it allows you to board wipe. This is really cool. All right, next up, you get another instant. It's an Unbreakable Formation for 2 generic and 1 white. Creatures you control get indestructible until the end of turn. That's really good to save yourself from a board wipe that has Destruct. And then Addendum, if you cast a spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures and they gain Vigilance until the end of turn. So this can become a mini Achroma as well. And that's really, really good. I like it. Next up, Valiant Knights is a 3/4 human knight for 3 generic and 1 white. Other knights you control get +1/+1. Very good. And then for 3 generic and 2 white, knights you control gain double strike until the end of turn. Wow, that's really good. That is really good. It's not even that expensive for 4. And yeah, of course, it costs an extra 5 to give double strike, but double strike when you have, I don't know, 8 tokens and maybe 4 other knights and Sidar on the board. Oh, that's a lot of power. So I like that card. Vanquisher's Banner makes a comeback. This is a beautiful artifact for 5 generic. As it enters the battlefield, you choose target creature type. And then creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+1. And whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you draw a card. So yet another amazing effect to keep drawing and just powering up your whole knights. It's just a 2-for-1. This deck is much better I will say now, but I will reiterate it at the end. This deck is much better than Brimez as a Precon for sure. It has a lot more synergy and a lot more ways to buff the creatures overall, and it's more focused so far from what I can see. Next up, we have Worthy Knight, a human knight, a 2/2 creature for 1 generic and 1 white. And whenever you cast an ice spell, you get a 1/1 white human creature token. So another good token generator. Bazooka Bog, as usual. Command Tower, yet again. Commander Sphere, okay, that's interesting. And then we get Distant Melody. It's a sorcery for 3 generic and 1 blue. Choose a creature type. Draw a card for each permanent that you control of that type. This is really good. This is a really good draw effect for a tribal deck. This is a very, very good draw effect for a tribal deck. Evolving Wilds, of course. Beautiful art, but still, it's Evolving Wilds. Okay, Fractured Power Stone. It looks like the Planechase cards are going to be very similar, except for the sorcery / instance, which is kind of disappointing. Anyway, Fractured Power Stone, we've seen it before. It is an artifact for 2 generic. It's an artifact that allows you to tap and add 1 generic, and then tap to roll the Planar die and activate only as a sorcery. Again, one of these cards that I would swap out in a heartbeat for if you're not playing Planechase. Cards of Signet. I mean, this is a good card. It allows you to filter 1 generic into 2 mana, so this is really nice. And definitely much needed for this kind of deck. Path of Ancestry. Okay. Read the Bones. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. Not bad. There are better draw effects though, so if you're looking to custom sorceries, there are better. Smitten Swordmaster is a 2/1 life linker for 1 generic and 1 black, and also has an adventure that says Curry Favor for 1 black. You gain X life, and each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of knights you control. Really, really good. Really, really good in this kind of deck, actually. For that effect alone, it's going to be really good because you get the life back. Maybe it's not going to be the Coup de Grace or, the final hit that kills every opponent, but it might kill one opponent or get them to kill status, and it saves you back up. So that's really good. Next up, we have Terramorphic Expanse, Thriving Heath, Thriving Isle. That's not bad. Thriving Moor. As usual, with these kind of lands, I'm the kind of person that says, okay, if you don't have any better lands, definitely play them. Arcane Sanctum. If you don't have Triumphs, etc., duels, definitely play these lands, but there are easier upgrades and better ones. Anyway, Arcane Signet makes a comeback as well. And then we get Arva, the Curse, which is a Vampire Knight. It's a cool art. Really cool guy. And then it's a 3/3 legendary creature for 3 generic, 1 white and 1 black. That touch lifelink. Other legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. If you had been a rare and it was other knights, that would be amazing. But yeah, I have not seen a ton of legendary creatures, and the tokens are not going to be legendary, so I would pass on this one. Course Knight, of course, a 2/2 zombie knight for 1 white and 1 black, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. This is really, really good. It's a 2/4/1 effect that allows any of your tokens to turn into, damage to your opponents. Kind of damage, though it's not actual damage. So that's a good card. D-Spark, decent instant. Definitely amazing. Flower Stone makes a comeback. Okay, that's interesting. Falmire Knight is a 1/1 Death Toucher and for 1 black. And then for Profane Insight, which is the adventure for 2 generic and 1 black, you draw a card, you lose a life. There are better effects to do this, in my opinion. And I would reckon there are better knights than 1/1 Death Toucher. But as a maybe, as a keep it there maybe. Okay, Herald's Horn is a 3 generic artifact. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Usually I like this. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast generic. That's really, really good. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may really put it in your hand. Wow. This is a great card, and it's only an uncommon. Very good for the tribal deck. Absolutely would play it. Knight of the Last Breath. This is a 4/4 giant knight that costs 5 generic and 1 white and 1 black, so that's expensive. For 3 generic, you sacrifice a non-token creature. You create a 1/1 white black spirit creature token with flying. That is not even a knight. Okay. And then has afterlife 3. When this creature dies, you create 3 1/1 white, black, and black spirit creature tokens with flying. Yeah, no. No. It doesn't have any synergy except for the fact that it's a giant knight, literally. So, okay. Next up, Knights of the Black Rose. It's a 4/4 human knight, 3 generic, 1 white, 1 black. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch, and whenever an opponent becomes the monarch, if you were the monarch as the turn began, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I don't know that I want to play too much with the monarch ability. It is a good thing to have, and I've seen that they're going to bring it back for the next set, which is going to be the Lord of the Rings set. But I don't like politics too much, and yes, it's a great way to, get some life back and draw some extra cards, but realistically, if you're not into politics, which I find to be kind of slow, and you want to just be on the face, I will remove this card. Otherwise, it's not a bad card for politics. Not a bad card. Okay, Milestone. So this is the classic, and it's not a bad card. I'm wondering if they're going to put talismans in here or not, because so far I've seen a lot of high costs, but not, either generic or like 3 or 2 costs, and like, the Signet, and I would keep the Soul Ring definitely, but anyway, we'll get to it in the end. Okay, Mirror Landscape, of course, makes a comeback. Order of Midnight, it's a 2/2 creature human knight with flying, and it cannot block for 1 generic and 1 black, and also it has an adventure that's a sorcery, Alter Fate, for 1 generic and 1 black. Return target creature card from your graveyard onto your hand. Not as great because you have Sidar Jabari's effect, and yeah, I mean, there are a couple of other return to hand or return to battlefield effects for knights. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even block. It's a 2/2 flyer. Yes, it's a knight. It's not bad. I will keep it if you don't have a lot of knights, but otherwise, if you have slots to remove, that would be one of them. Path to Exile, great removal. Absolutely. Return to Dust, another good removal. But unfortunately, you exile target artifact or enchantment. So there are better removals that are in this color combination that can remove quite a lot of permanents, and not just remove, it's exile as well. So yeah, it's not great. I would remove it and replace it with those ones if you have it. If not, it's a good removal because you get quite a bit. Next up, Soul Ring, classic, and this one I will keep. Sword Splasher, and that's another great removal. Sir Eleanor the Discerning, which is a star 4 human knight, legendary creature for 3 generic and 2 blue. Its power is equal to the number of cards in your hand. Okay, you draw a lot of cards, so it could become big. And when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. And spells your opponent casts the target, this creature costs 2 generic or more to cast. This is more nerd focus. Again, if you are looking to replace and better cards to make your deck better, I would remove it. It's not a bad card per se. There are like other ones that we've seen, but it's definitely a slower card, and it only works for itself and defending itself. This is my opinion anyway. Oh, Sir Conrad the Grim. It's a 5/4 human knight for 3 generic and 2 black. It's a legendary creature, and whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, so this is not bad because of Sidar's secondary effect. So this is not bad at all. And it's a human knight 5/4 for 5, and also each player mills a card. This part I don't know, it's not bad if you have Sidar, yeah? So if you have Sidar in play, it attacks and deals combat damage to a player, then you can I'm even thinking about a cool combo. Actually, I'm thinking now with Reconnaissance. What you could do is give Sidar first strike or double strike, and then when it deals the first strike damage, then remove it out of combat so it doesn't take any other damage, and return stuff from the battlefield. So this is really cool, and this allows you to do 1 damage to each opponent. So yeah, this is not a bad card with that kind of combo in mind. Temple of the False God, tap to add 2 generic, activate it only if you control 5 or more lands. This is a very slow land. Again, it's other lands that I would remove easily with better lands. Wintermoon Commander is a creature human knight with 2 power and star toughness. For 1 white and 1 black, is a death toucher, and its toughness is equal to the number of knights you control. Whenever it attacks, another target knight you control gains indestructible until the end of turn. Not bad. Because of its low cost, it's actually not a bad card. It has Death Touch, so it can be really, really annoying. And if you can give it flying with other ways, it allows you to block from a lot of damage. If you give it First Strike, even better. And yeah, it's cheap, and it allows you to protect anything that whenever you attack, right? So that's not bad at all. I like it for an uncommon. It's not bad. Okay, the Xerius Strobe Knight is here from March of the Machine. We've seen it before, but I'll read it out. It's a 2/2 human knight for 2 generic, 1 blue, has flying vigilance. You tap it to create a 2/2 white and blue knight, creature token vigilance. Activate only if you cast 2 or more spells this turn. It feels like it's a filler knight. There are better knights out there. It's not a bad one if you don't have better knights, but you know, there are better ways. And next up we get, so you get 8 plains, 6 islands, and 5 swamps. Okay, so to wrap this up, I will say that this deck is definitely a better precon than Brimus, and is definitely up there with just other precons because it has a lot of removal, it has a lot of draw engine, it is very focused on what it wants to do. It knows that it wants knights, it knows that it wants to pop up more knights and tokens and to power them up. There are ways to do that, definitely. And just as a precon is really good. It has some board wipes. It's not board wipe heavy because, of course, you are working to generate knights, but it has board wipes. It has tons of draw engines, you know, including the commander proper. What I think actually that you could remove and cut up some of the knights that we said are not that great, replace them with better cards and knights, and maybe some extra enchantments that allow to power up more of the knights themselves. But my main concern about this deck is the mana generation. So this is the kind of deck where you don't have a lot of great mana generation except for Words of Signet, because the other stuff is very slow and the knights need to be quick on the board. I mean, Sidar Jabari is a 4-coster that realistically you want to get in turn 2 or 3 if you can, realistically. So I would say that yes, there are great cards, but the mana base or the mana fixing or the artifacts that help mana also as well is not that great. So when purchasing this precon, I would definitely keep that in mind. And if you have a decent as per mana base or decent artifacts to help this up, which we will discuss in the next video on how to better this deck. I'm already getting ideas, as you saw. It's definitely something that I would go for. And yeah, it's a decent deck. I did not think that Nice Trouble could be this fun, and it seems like a fun deck. I can't wait to play it, actually. It looks like it's going to be fun on the board, quick, and definitely painful for your opponents. And the fact that your commander has Eminence and it has a draw effect on Eminence, a loot effect on Eminence, is insane. That alone makes this deck amazing. And on top of that, every other synergy throughout this deck is awesome. So definitely this is one of those decks that even if you just buy it and slowly build up to it, you're still going to be able to play and have a ton of fun. It's not going to be like Brimas where you're going to have to put in too much stuff inside. Now, having said that, I will give this deck definitely a 7.5 or 8 out of 10 on how strong it is. I think it is definitely very, very strong base, and you can definitely build up from it. And if you're looking forward to figuring out what the best cards that you can put inside this deck are, stick around onto our channel, because we will be posting a how to upgrade tech deck of this deck. And in the meantime, this was Scotty and I. We thank you very much for your time and patience with us. Hopefully this was fairly instructional in purpose, and we thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts for your time here, and we wish you a great day, a blessed day. Be good, be kind, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.